Welcome everybody. Today we will be doing a book review for book 47 of the original Goosebumps series, Legend of the Lost Legend, written by R.L Stine. I had an opportunity to do the voiceover for it. You could check it out in my in the card up above. And here we are doing the actual book review. Just a bit of info for everybody. This is spoiler warning, so I will be spoiling the book in case anybody doesn't want to know. So, essentially, the story follows a boy named Justin and his sister Marissa and their father. They are looking for the lost legend of Brovania. And his father, who has published multiple stories, the children, Justin and Marissa, they kind of come together and they want to be ones to help their father. Early on in the book, you tend to see a lot of them understanding who they are. They go through a little bit of kind of questioning who their character is in a way, because their father, who is a very heavy sleeper, coincidentally a very heavy sleeper, he lets them know that they're not really helpful, that, he brought them because he wanted them to have an adventure with them, and they all wanted to find the lost legend together. And eventually they take it upon themselves to be the people that find the lost legend, and they tend to get out of their father's shadow. And they tend to kind of fight for themselves in a way, so this way they could prove to their father that they are indeed helpful. That's kind of the main arc in the beginning. The only thing about this book that I noticed is it tends to jump kind of right away, In the beginning, you see a little bit of world development, and then bang, right into what it is that happens, what it is that they have to do. We have Ivana, who is the Viking lady, that is giving them their test. They have a challenge that they have to accomplish. Essentially what happens is Justin and Marissa, they stray away from their father and the camp, and they go essentially looking for the lost legend. They wind up encountering Ivana at her cabin, and a little bit of hilarity ensues along the way. Ivana brings them in. They're a little worried about her. She gives them soup. She lets them know, don't eat it, it's poison, And then eventually, it's kind of like, hilarity tends to ensue throughout a lot of this book, I notice. But eventually, Ivana tells them you have a challenge. And if you want to find the lost legend, you have to partake in these sort of challenges, and they have to go and partake in these challenges. They're being helped by Silver Dog, who at the beginning is kind of their guide. They're a little worried about him. Ivana also has this like wolf-human hybrid, which will very much play into the end of the book. She has this wolf-human hybrid who's also there. They encounter some challenges. Robotic mice. That's most of the middle of this book is a lot of the challenge. Encountering the robotic mice, making sure that they're not lost in the woods. A lot of fake outs. These Goosebumps books tend to have a globs of fake outs, And then the next chapter, everything is okay. Justin misses Marissa. He doesn't know where she is. The next chapter, here I am, Solid book, though. Very decent. A decent read. Not as terrible as people make it out to be. That's the one thing I will tell you. So eventually, Silver Dog disappears. They start the challenges. There's this part where, as they're beginning the challenge, the cabin just disappears, right? So they have to partake in the challenges. And then eventually they encounter these giant cats, these big giant cats. And Justin has a little bit of wittiness. Marissa tends to kind of see through certain things. That's the one thing about those two that you'll find in this book. They both have their wits, their character representation. They encounter these giant cats. Justin has an idea. Oh, I can use these robotic mice that we found earlier on in the book to distract the cats. And everything seems to kind of go well. Everything seems to... the plot moves them along in a pretty good way. And then ultimately, as the spoiler kind of happens now in this book, this is your spoiler warning, eventually we find out that everything in this world is essentially fake, more or less. And Ivana herself, who is the person on this cover, she is also fake. She's also a robot, just like the mice were, just like essentially everything else is. And the person actually running the show is the wolf-human hybrid. And essentially we find that out in chapter 29 and 30. you know? And then 31 just takes a huge leap into something else, and then the book kind of ends. So it's pretty much, you spend most of the book going through these sort of challenges just for the end to kind of like get 3 different things. You find out what happens, you find out Ivana's fake, you find out that the wolf-human hybrid is essentially a real man, and then they go right into finding the lost legend, right? Essentially what you have is the wolf-human hybrid had created this whole thing. His family have been protecting the Brovanian forest for 500 years, and this challenge was to just show the fortitude that Justin and Marissa would have had. He gives them the silver chest, and ultimately there's an egg in the silver chest. Their dad comes back, they see the egg, they realize that this really isn't what should be in the silver chest, and then they ask the wolf-human hybrid man, so what's up with this egg? And he tells them, oh, you wanted the legend of the lost legend? As if they haven't been searching for that the entire time. And he goes, okay, well, if you want it, you got to go to this camp that's over there, a bit away. So eventually they wind up connecting with their father again, and then they go to this camp, and it's a bunch of people in tents, and it's very odd. They go up to them and they're like, hey, do you have the lost legend? And they go, yeah, sure, we'll give it to you, right? They're kind of skeptical a little bit. Then they go, yeah, sure, we'll give it to you. They give them the lost legend after they've been faked out about the egg in the silver chest. They go to the camp, get the lost legend, and then essentially the people that own the camp, they all go away. They look at the legend of the lost legend, and essentially what it says, I'll read that part of the book. Whoever owns the lost legend will be lost forever. That's essentially at the very end of the book with a page left. Page and a half at max. Whoever owns the lost legend will be lost forever. And then the setting kind of just disappears. And essentially what happens is whoever winds up seeing the lost legend, the reason why it's lost is that whoever owns the lost legend will be lost forever. So essentially what we have is the previous people, these people in the camp who had the lost legend, they were lost forever. And you have to kind of stumble upon them. At least that's what the book is trying to tell you. Or at least at the minimum, that's what I'm trying to gather from it. They own the lost legend, and you have to find them. They've been found. Justin, Marissa, and their dad get the lost legend, and now they're lost. So a little bit of fake outs. You know, the story itself is, the one thing I did note though, is I did not see Ivana being fake. You know, you see the cover and you think it's this epic sort of tale, only to find out that it's just essentially this one big fake out. The little plot twist with the egg in the silver chest, that was all right, but you have to remember this book is written for 7 to 12-year-olds, you know? So they're probably hyped up when they see this. In my honest opinion, worth reading? Oh yeah, yeah. Is it as bad as people say it is? No, it's not. It's not terrible. It's not a terrible book. It's quite worthwhile. It's pretty fun. It's a little annoying. Sometimes Justin and Marissa can be quite annoying in certain cases, especially they're giving up and they're not giving up. And then the fake out at the end when ultimately you find out that things are fake and that the wolf-human hybrid is actually the real thing. Silver Dog, though, is real from what I gathered. And then it kind of jumps right at the end to, oh, hey, by the way, here's an egg. Oh, you didn't want this egg? That's not what you were looking for, even though you were mentioning that you talked about it the entire time. Here's the way to get the lost legend. They go to that camp, and as soon as they get the lost legend, those people at the camp kind of just like hurry up, pack their stuff up, and then dip. Eventually they become lost too. So the legend of the lost legend is whoever owns the lost legend is lost. And that's it. So folks, would I recommend this book? Yeah, totally. It's definitely worth the read, especially if you're an original OG Goosebumps 62 reviewer or reader or anything along those lines. Totally recommend it. Very fun read, super quick too. Only 123, 24 pages. And most of the book, the meat of the book, is them going through the challenges and overcoming. So if you like a good overcoming story, if you want to see people, see kids in action and overcoming their fears, I would say this is the book for you. All right, folks, thanks for taking the opportunity to listen. This was Legend of the Lost Legend.